Happy Sunday, everyone. I hope all is well. Welcome to week 10 already. Man, time is just cruising. I know I say that every week, but it really is going by quickly. So here we are. Good job overall on your DBs, on your smart recovery summaries. Just be sure, quick note, side note here, just be sure you're meeting all the requirements if you want all the points. You know how that works by now. So moving forward, you have one more meeting to attend for this course. And again, my hope is for whichever ones you haven't attended that you will eventually make some time to attend. And I hope they've proven valuable. This isn't to determine if you like it or not like it. It's to become familiar with it so you can explain to you, so you can educate your clients on what they are, what their processes are, what their philosophies and ideals are. Remember, I've said this time and time again, they're all good groups, every one of them. Right? They're just not always a good fit for each individual. So keep that in mind. Doesn't make it a bad group. Remember, one doesn't have to be good for another to be bad, right? AA doesn't have to be bad for smart to be good. You get the idea. So that said, your next meeting will be week 12 in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It'll be due in 3 weeks. You can attend your choice of refuge or Dharma recovery, which are basically the same meeting. There was some legal issues apparently that plagued the founder of Refuge Recovery, and somebody didn't like that. And I believe that's why they started Recovery Dharma, but they are based on Buddhism principles. Very similarly to Smart Recovery in that they don't use the labels, but more like a 12-step model. And then you have Celebrate Recovery, which is a Christian-based 12-step model. They use the same 12 steps as AA or NA, but the difference there is they don't do the labels either. They believe that if you were AA has what they call a singleness of purpose, right? A desire to stop drinking, or NA has the desire to stop using. As a qualifier, Celebrate Recovery just says, look, if you have hurts, habits, or hangups, I believe is how they phrase it, you're welcome here. I think there's great value in that. They are all gender-specific groups, meaning they separate after they're longer groups. They usually do some kind of potluck dinner thing and then some sort of testimonial announcements. Then they separate into gender-specific groups, men and women, to do the work, right? So that's what they do there. But they will tell you these are not only is this, it's not God as you understand him, as AA or NA likes to say, this is God, and this is the biblical principle behind each step. So there's that. Again, great program, not for everybody, but for a lot of people. So this is just where we get to know our clients, right? And we get to know what's best for anyone. We'll get, in week 14, we'll really talk about wrapping this up, about how to determine who goes where and how and why and all the things. So this week, more pressing is you have chapter 32, quiz 3, the process of treatment. I'm a pro, as you haven't figured it out by now, I'm very pro treatment. I worked at a treatment center for many years, and you're always going to have the argument, is there value in treatment? My loved one's been 15 times. I'm always going to say yes. I absolutely believe there's value in treatment. So much of this, as you remember from the biopsychosocial model of addiction, so there's so many variables to every person and every situation and every treatment. All it takes is one connection. Now, if someone's coming to the same place 5 times, that might be a problem. Let's try somewhere different. Maybe they connect different, maybe different scenery. I don't know. I don't have those answers, right? But I do know that the value of treatment, in my opinion, is especially inpatient treatment, is the structured, secure environment away from a substance, right? They do some good things. Process groups are wonderful. Accountability is wonderful. And IOP continues that accountability. So I definitely believe in treatment. I don't think it's the answer for everybody. Like anything else, I don't know that there is one answer for everybody. So this is where you really have to, know about each place's process, know about your clients and that kind of thing. Don't get me wrong. There are people I see that I recommend treatment the very first time I see them. But we talk about it. I don't say you have to go to treatment. That's not a very good approach, and it's not going to get you anywhere. More importantly, it's not going to get them anywhere, most likely, right? So, we talk about the potential benefits, and you get to know them and their story and why you think it might be beneficial, and articulate that to them, right? This is why, guys, it's so very important to know your resources in the community and beyond, right? I have treatment centers all over the country that I've toured, that I know about. I rarely will ask someone to go somewhere I haven't visited myself, right? And get to know your business development people for these treatment centers. They're going to be a lifeline for you. I know that because I was a business development rep for a treatment center. Anyways, I work with them regularly. They're wonderful people. And we all have a part to play getting someone the help they need, right? So that said, the process of treatment, tour these places, get out and see them, lay eyes on them, talk to them. Yes, there's some turnover, right? From upper management to clinicians to, techs, staff, whatever. The philosophies typically stay the same though, right? And I can give several counselors, different counselors, I can give, a SUD education schedule, let's say, in treatment. We're going to teach about thinking errors. We're going to change distorted thinking, forgiveness, whatever the topics are, right? Relationship troubles, whatever it is. And each clinician may teach it very differently, right? And this is ideally the freedom you have. Now, some treatment centers run strictly on a curriculum that says you will not deviate from this. This is what makes us us. And so it's important you get to know, right? Some people thrive in a hospital setting versus some people prefer the more serene settings. I think I would tend to prefer a more serene setting. But I just recently had a client that said he really thrived in a hospital setting. Some places have professionals and executives programs. Some places take Medicaid and everywhere in between. So it's very important you get to know what's out there. Low cost to high end, everywhere in between, right? And so that's this week. The following week is chapter 34 in your DB on counseling in a treatment setting. You follow this with relapse and other problems encountered in a treatment setting, and it happens. Now, if you hadn't figured this out by now as well, I'm very big on language, and I don't even care for the language relapse anymore. I think it's antiquated too and comes with this negative connotation. I think people either use or they don't. They've returned to use is a better way to put that, right? But for the sake of this is what's in the syllabus and what's in our books and what many professionals still use the language of relapse. And I get it. They'll tell you relapse is part of the process, but it doesn't have to be. And if it is, it's okay. Let's just get back to work, right? So you definitely encounter that in treatment. One thing I'll tell you guys this. When I worked in IOP, first I started my career in a detox unit at this treatment center. I worked for the same treatment center for almost 9 years. And for 3 of those years, I worked in the detox unit. And then I switched gears to the IOP unit, ran that for about 4 years. And while they're very different levels of care, obviously, there was a revolving door, it seemed like, right? I think that's the nature of this industry and this business, unfortunately, right? This business of helping that we're trying to become clinicians in. And one thing in our facility, we had what was called a rounds sheet, right? And that was just the PCAs, they were called our techs, the patient care assistants, would do their rounds and that they would mark, but it had we used the term patient because we were a medical facility, a Memorial Hermann Hospital system at the time. So we called the patients, right? But they would make their rounds with our patients and I prefer clients, but anyways, neither here nor there, semantics. Right, but they would make their rounds, and that's how it got the name of the round sheet. But it had every patient on there, who their counselor was, right? And so I would always look at the detox round sheet, even in IOP, to see who had returned potentially to detox over the weekend, over the night before, and because they weren't going to call me, right? They just would show up. Here's why: because I wanted to make a beeline to that detox unit and say hello. And put a smile to a very, very frustrating, very challenging time and just say, it's okay. We're glad you're back. Let's get back to work, right? And to try to ease in that transition. So I love treatment. I love the settings. Is it perfect like anything? Absolutely not. Is it for everybody? No, absolutely not. Following that, then we have our refuge or celebrate paper or recovery dharma, followed by, then we're on our last 4 weeks. DB paper or DB quiz paper DB, and we're done, guys. We're out of here, and you're on to the next one. So we'll wrap up as we get closer to Celebrate and Refuge or Recovery Dharma. We'll wrap up the comparison of the three one more time. And again, yeah, as always, if you need anything or if I can be of any type of assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out. Of course, I'll put some bonus points up after this quiz grade gets posted. And guys, we'll talk soon.